little bit today anyway. On Shabbos, the mitzvah is oneg. Mitzvah on Shabbos is delight, oneg. And so therefore, anything that you like on Shabbos, that's what you're supposed to eat. If you don't enjoy meat, you don't have to eat meat on Shabbos. There's a very, very strong minhag to eat fish. Some say you should eat fish at all 3 meals on Shabbos. But if you don't enjoy fish, so you don't have to eat it. You don't have to eat fish. Yontif is that oneg. Yontif is simcha. And the Gemara says, "Ein simcha ela basar v'yayin." Simcha is through meat and wine, specifically meat and wine. Ein simcha. There's no simcha without meat and wine. If you make a simcha, there should be meat at the simcha, because that's ideal. Even a bris, when they have a bris, it's a sudas mitzvah, so you're supposed to have meat. Ideally meat. Second place is chicken. Some people see at a bris, often brises are in the morning, so sometimes people serve like a fish dairy type of thing. That's a very common fish dairy, yeah, that sort of thing, which I've seen the poskim say that's not ideal. We understand that they do it because it's early in the morning, so people do it. But a wedding, at a wedding, there should be meat. Ideally, there should be meat because it's a sudas mitzvah and it's a simcha. Yontif is for simcha. I know people on Shabbos. I know somebody who eats milchiks on Shabbos because they're financially they're strapped, so they eat meal one Friday night. They eat milchiks, but it's not the same thing. It's not the same excitement. I know somebody else who they're basically vegetarian, not because of ideological reasons, because they think it's wrong to kill animals. They're vegetarians because they feel that they don't enjoy meat. They just don't enjoy it. Don't enjoy that. So on Yontif, even somebody who doesn't enjoy meat should try to eat a kazayas of meat. Because on Yontif there's a mitzvah to eat meat. So this minhag on Shavuos that people have of eating milchiks and people, so it's one thing if, in the morning what people do is they make kiddush, they have some cheesecake, then they wash and they have a regular meal, and you have the meat meal. But ideally you're supposed to have 2 meat meals on Shavuos. You're supposed to have one at night and one during the day where you have meat. Some people substitute at night. I did that one time. Because the reason I don't eat dairy. I don't like dairy. I don't like cheesecake. What I usually do is have an ice cream bar. And Shavuos, I can't stand cheesecake. And dairy in general doesn't do it for me. Doesn't do it. I probably can't eat dairy. I don't like that taste. I don't like that cream cheese and all that stuff. Huh? What's quesadilla?
Mexican. It's like melted cheese in a tortilla.
It's so good.
It's like a grilled salsa.
No, I never done it. The only thing I ate pizza I like. Pizza I like, but because I don't taste the cheese. But the what do you call it? Mozzarella cheese is good, but I can't tell you. No, I want the grilled cheese. That's a I did. I ate the pizza, but I didn't own it because I like dairy. I owned it because I like money, not dairy. And money we take. Money is par, my friend. So we're not. That's not a problem. Money is fleischig. So it's not. So that wasn't an issue. But the what do you call it? So this minhag, there are people who actually have a. I did it one time because I want to stay up late to learn on Shavuos night. And I feel if I eat a meat meal, I'm going to be just too tired. I'm going to go to sleep. So one time we did it where we had salmon at night. We bought some expensive salmon. We had salmon. It was nice. But it doesn't, I don't feel right doing it, And I think that if people are going to do the minhag, now there are poskim who say, no, that's a minhag and that people do that and people have a dairy meal Shavuos night. I know that my family, I'm going to be away. Yeah, I know that my family is planning. They're having a milchik meal on Shavuos day. Okay, they can do what they want. If I was home, they would do it. I would say do what you want. Just make sure that I have a slice of beef, for what do you call it? But that's the thing. Now, the staying up at night, learning all night Shavuos, is a beautiful custom. And it's just that a person has to. I found it always difficult to stay up at night because then I got to daven at the end. It's the davening at the end that's the killer. The Nate's davening is the killer. In later years, even when I did stay up all night, I finally got to the point what I would do is I stay up all night and then go to sleep and wake up 3 or 4 hours later and daven at a regular minyan. where I've gotten 3 or 4 hours sleep, so I could actually daven like a mensch. I just could not daven, and it's a particularly long davening on Shavuos night. There's akdamis and there's rus and the yalavia and laning and yalavia and what do you call halal, and then while they read Megillas Rus, all you see if you're sitting Torah, all you see is this. That's all you see is people reading. And the tune of Rus is also a very, very good night. It's very so that's what I do. Then in later years I stopped. I don't even try to stay because I found that qualitatively I could learn. I learned till 1 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning. Something to give shiurim. At 2 o'clock. By 2 o'clock in the morning, my head's finished. I'm tired. What's the point to stay up just for the sake of staying up? But if you're in an energized situation, there's a lot of there's Coke and there's some energy drinks or whatever it is, So then it's good. It's good to do it. But I found that it just qualitatively. Rabbi Yashiv did not stay up all night, and the reason he didn't stay up all night is he made a calculation that by staying up at night on Shavuos in the course of the Yontif, he ends up losing 20 minutes of learning. And Rabbi Yashiv was very, on a regular day he got up at 1:32 in the morning and learned till davening. He went to sleep at 10:30 at night and slept for 2 hours or 2.5 hours. Then he got up and he would start learning at 2 in the morning. They once said a couple of Avrechim came to his house. It was 10:35 at night. And they knocked on the door. They had an important question to ask. So his wife answered the door. This is the posek of the generation. His wife answers the door. He said, wait, can we speak to the Rav? We have a shaila. She said, he's asleep. So they said, 10:30 at night, Rav Yashiv. He had a 10. She said, well, he gets up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So they looked at her like, why? She said, well, he needs to know how to answer your questions. Right? Well, you're going to have to do this. And like the Rabbi Yashiv said, you get up at 2 in the morning and learn before davening. There are no weddings at 3 in the morning. Right? There are no phone calls at 3 in the morning. Nobody's, you get some uninterrupted, what do you call it? So that, but when you're in the yeshiva, and that's what everybody's doing, you should do it. The only thing is, it's the davening that's the killer. Yeah. The davening at the end I found was a killer, and eventually I found out how to deal with that. It was just to go to sleep. Go to sleep at the end of the night, and you got to finish learning. Go to sleep at the end of the night, and then get up for what do you call it? Okay, that's as far as what do you call it? But it's a beautiful yontif. There's nothing that you have to do. There's no lulav and esrog, and there's no sukkah, and there's no nothing. It's just basic yontif. It's just yontif, right? And so you stay up all night. Different people do different things. Yeah. I'm not going to be giving the shir because I'm going to be in Los Angeles, so it's going to be very difficult to do that because I'm leaving tonight for Los Angeles. I'm leaving tonight for a Shavuos program, and I have to speak 4 times during Shavuos night. Wow. And speaking is much easier than listening to a talk at 2 in the morning. That I can tell you. It's not easy giving the talk because most people are already asleep, at 2 in the morning. But the first couple of talks are easier. Start 11:30. The first couple of talks, people are with you. By the time you get to the 3rd or 4th talk. So it's you better bang the drums, it's what do you call it? So so I'm going to be there. In any event, then I'll be away tonight. I'm leaving tonight. Hashem, I'll be back in the country on Monday night. I'll be here Tuesday for the Parsha Shir. Tuesday. I'll be away Sunday and Monday. Yeah.
Are we allowed to use instruments on Shavuot?
No. Right. Because Shavuot is Yontif. It's got all the limitations of Yontif. Okay, so I want to go through. I don't think we did this. The Gemara. I want to explain something about Shavuos over here. So the Gemara says, this famous Gemara. I'm sure somebody must have spoken to you about this, about the mountain, dangling the mountain over the Jewish people. Yeah. You've heard of this? We didn't speak about it, did we? No. About Kafa. Okay, I want to give you a spin on this that's a little different than the norm. So the Gemara says, the pasuk in the Torah. It's a Gemara in Shabbos on Daf Pei Ches. The Gemara says on the pasuk, "Vayisyatsu betachti sahar." The Jewish people set themselves at the foot of the mountain, and the Gemara analyzes these words that they betachti sahar could be understood at the base of the mountain. It could also be understood as underneath the mountain. So the Gemara says, "Amar Rav Avdimi bar Chama bar Chasa Melamed." This teaches. Shekafa HaKadosh Baruch Hu Aleim Es Ahar Kigigis. HaKadosh held the mountain over them like a barrel. Ve'amar Lahem, he said to the Jewish people, Imata mekablim haTorah mutav. If you accept the Torah, very good. V'im lav, if you don't accept the Torah, sham teik v'rasem. That's where you're going to be buried. That's what the Gemara says. Okay. So the plain meaning of the Gemara is clearly, okay, we better do this, otherwise we're finished. That's the plain meaning of the Gemara. I think it's the Maharal, if I'm not mistaken, who says, not literally that he held a mountain over their head. What it means is that the choice of accepting Torah was such an obvious choice. It's as obvious as if somebody were holding a mountain over your head. That's how obvious it was. That's what I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's how the Maharal understands the Gemara. That if somebody was holding a mountain over your head, your choice would be pretty obvious, right? So the Maharal says that's how obvious it was when they're looking at HaKadosh Baruch Hu presents them with the opportunity to accept the Torah. So the Gemara, I'm sure you know the Gemara says Hashem went to the other nations first. Right? He went to what do you call it? He went to Esav, he went to Ed, he went to Yishmael. So he said to Esav, what does it say? The people of Edom. What does it say in the Torah? It says, don't murder. He says, don't murder. We can't live with the Torah that says don't murder. I mean, the bracha was achar b'chatichi. You're going to live by your sword. We can't have a Torah that says don't murder. Okay. So he goes to the Bnei Yishmael. He goes to the Bnei Yishmael. What does it say in the Torah? Don't steal. Don't steal. How could we possibly not steal? I mean, that's part of our culture, right? We can't have a Torah that says don't steal. He goes to Ammon and Moab, and he says, what does it say in the Torah? Don't commit adultery. Right? Don't commit adultery. I mean, our whole existence is from incest, from Lot and his daughters. How can we not? We can't have a Torah like that. That's what the Gemara says. Okay, so he goes to the Jewish people. The Jewish people hold them out. Not Savanishma. Okay, so there's a lot of discussion on it. One of the interesting, fascinating insight, which we did mention once, and it's something. Either you hear it, if you hear the subtlety of it, or you don't. But why didn't the Jewish people get a test? Right? You want the Torah? What does it say? Torah says you can't purchase anything wholesale. You have to buy retail. Oh no, there's no way we're Jewish. There's no way we can we can't buy wholesale. Forget about it, right? Well, how come there's no test for the Jewish people? How come there's no test for Jews? That's all it needs to say. Forget it. You give the Torah to somebody else. The answer is the Sfas Emes says they did get a test. You know what the test was for the Jewish people? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he gave the Torah, he said you can't come past this point. You can't come past this point. You can't go anywhere near the mountain. The mountain's got holiness. Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to a certain point. Yeshua goes up to a certain point. The Jewish people, there's a border. You can't go past this border while God's giving the Torah. That's a test for the Jewish people. You know why? Because a Jew is drawn to a source of Kedusha. And the test over there was to restrain ourselves and hold back. That's what the Sfas says. That's what you wouldn't have ran up too far, because Hashem said anybody who touches the mountain dies. Right, so you wouldn't have gotten too far. You may have taken a couple of steps, but it wouldn't have ended well. So the test for the Jew at a deeper level, the Gemara is really telling you what's the essence of Esav, what's the essence of Yisrael, what's the essence of a Jew. The essence of a Jew is that we're drawn to the Kedusha. And at the highest level, when there's Kedusha, we actually have to restrain ourselves from getting even holier. Halavai, we should get to that level. That we would love to get to that level. Okay, so here, that's what the Maharal says about the Gemara. It's obvious that obviously we should accept the Torah. Okay, there's a different idea over here, and that is, I have two questions on this Gemara. There are two problems with this Gemara. Problem number one is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm going to tell you the second problem first. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you accept the Torah, very good. V'im lav, if not, sham tehek v'raschem. That's where you're going to be buried. Mm-hmm. Okay, guys, this is a piece of Gemara. It's Agadata, but you got to learn it like you learn any regular piece of Gemara. Now you should have a kasha here. It says, if you accept it, very good. If not, sham tehek v'raschem. Not bothered by that? If you drop a mountain on somebody, would you say sham tehek v'raschem? You'd say po tehek v'raschem. You drop a mountain on somebody, are they sham or they're po? You drop them on somebody, they're po. They're very, very po. Very po. They are so po. Right? That's where somebody is when they drop them on. They're not shum, they're po. Okay, that's our question number one. So why does the Gemara say shum take road? That's where he'll be buried. Question number one. Question number two is the wording. It says, Melamed shekofa kosh rochem, he held the mountain over them like a barrel. Now I want to ask you a question. Imagine your brother comes running into the house in a cold sweat. He comes running in a panic. And you say to your brother, what was wrong? He said, I was outside and I saw a cat. But to me, the cat seemed like a leopard. So you understand why he's using an analogy? Because he's telling you that there's a cat, and under normal circumstances, most people are probably not afraid of cats. But he, under the circumstances, was so petrified to him the cat seemed like a leopard. Right? Then the analogy makes sense. Then you need an analogy. What if your brother came running into the house, he's in a cold sweat, he's in a panic, you say, what's wrong? So I was outside and I saw a leopard, but to me it seemed like a cat. Makes no sense. Makes no sense to use an analogy. I would say to him, I saw a leopard looked like a leopard. If I saw a leopard, I wouldn't say to you, oh, the leopard looked like a cat. I'd say a leopard looked like a leopard, very much like a leopard. That's all I need. So what does the Gemara say? Hashem held the mountain over them like a barrel. First of all, the Jewish people saw something no one in history ever saw. You got mountain climbers, right? My guys climbed Mount Everest, K2, all these mountains. Yeah. The most daring mountain climbers never saw what the Jewish people saw. They saw the underside of a mountain. Cool. Think about that. Look up. Ooh, what's that? A mountain. The underside of a mountain. Nobody ever saw an underside of a mountain. There's a mountain dangling in the air. Now I want to ask you a question. We don't know how high. The Gemara doesn't say how high it was dangling above them. Let's say this is the mountain dangling overhead, and I say to you, hey, Eitan, you want to accept the Torah? What would you say?
Yes.
Oh, not Nasev and Ishma. I am so Nasev and Ishma. Oh, yeah, I'm 100%. Right? Why? Because hey, there's a mountain. Hold that thing up. I understand. So the Gemara says, so if the Gemara would have said, well, Hashem held a barrel over them like a mountain, that I understand an analogy. Right? It held a barrel over my head. To me, the barrel is like a mountain. It may as well be a mountain. That I understand. But to say to me, well, he held a mountain over them like a barrel, that doesn't make any sense. I would say he held a mountain over them like a mountain. Right? You understand? What you're downgrading. You look at, it's a mountain. Big deal. Uh-oh, looks like a barrel. Look out. Take cover. Get under the table, everybody. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. You understand?
Does that mean it was really high up? Oh, they didn't feel.
I don't know how high up it was.
They didn't feel threatened. They wanted the Torah.
They didn't feel threatened, and by a barrel they do feel threatened?
No, a barrel.
But the Gemara says, Kafa, he held the mountain over them like a barrel.
Yeah.
So it should say, if you want to feel threatened them, say they held the mountain over them and it looked like a mountain. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe to make it more personal and make it feel like it's actually a real.
I'll tell you, a mountain is if you've ever been underneath a mountain, which you haven't, right, because no one ever has, but if we were ever under a mountain, that would seem really personal. Right, oh, that's a mountain. I'm underneath a dangling mountain. That sounds pretty. That's pretty personal. Yeah. That's pretty personal. Okay, so I'll tell you what I think the pshat is, and I have proof for it from Parshas Va'azinu, and I'll tell you the proof in a second. If you take a mountain, if I hold a barrel over you, an inverted barrel is hollow. If I hold a mountain over you, and the mountain is hollowed out. A hollowed out mountain, like he held a mountain over them like a barrel, meaning the mountain resembled a barrel. And then I lower this mountain down over you. So now what happens to you? You're trapped inside the mountain because you can't get out. On the other hand, nothing can get in. A person who looks at the Torah from the outside, and you know as well as I do, when you look at the Torah from the outside, before you're familiar with it, it looks pretty intimidating. There are an awful lot of demands here. There are an awful lot of rules. There are an awful lot of restrictions. There are an awful lot of regulations. There are an awful lot of prohibitions. And you take a look at the Torah, and you think to yourself, how can I possibly live like that? How can anybody live like that? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, look, I'm going to tell you what the essence of Torah is about, what a Torah life involves. If you accept the Torah as a barrel, I'm going to lower the mountain down over you. You're going to be within the protective walls of the Torah, with all the demands and all the regulations. You can't get out, but then again, if you're protected by the Torah, nothing can get in. All the vulgarity and the ugliness of the world outside cannot get into you. And Hashem is saying to you, and that's what the words, again, you guys have learned enough Gemara. The wording of the Gemara is precise. The Gemara says, if you accept the Torah, imatem mekablim es Torah mutav. Very good. The best way for a person to live in this world is by accepting the Torah. Im tekablena mutav. If you accept the Torah, very good. Ve'im lav If not, you don't want the Torah with all the impositions. And with all, you don't want to be in the protective walls of that Torah. You want to go out to that world. Sham tehek furaschem. That world out there will bury you. Not po. Sham, that world with all of its lack of discipline and all of its, the essence of the world today, it's out of control. It's vulgar. There aren't enough adjectives to describe how negative the world is. You want that? Sham tehek, that world's going to bury you. That world with all its vulgarity, with all its hefkerus, with every lack of value, there is no value in the world today. That will bury you. I'm telling you what the nature of Torah is. In other words, this Gemara can be understood on different levels. At the plain level, it can be understood as a basic threat. Here, I'm going to drop a mountain on you. All right, we'll do it. And on a deeper level, he's telling you what a Torah life is. A Torah life is a life im tekablena mutav. Yes, it's an optical illusion. It's deceptive. It looks like, wow, I got so much, I got to put up a mezuzah, and I got to wash my hands before I eat, and I got to make brachas, and I got to bench, and I can't wear shatnez. It looks very intimidating until you do it, and you get used to it like anything else. And you feel fulfilled, you're content, you have direction, you have purpose, you have a goal. Im tekablena mutav, accept the Torah, very good. V'im lav, you don't want the Torah. You don't want the sham tehek kurasa. The Torah is going to bury, that world is going to bury you out there. Now, you know what the proof of it is? It's unbelievable. If you look at Rashi in Ha'azino, turn to page 1102. I'll tell you this, unbelievable. I once spoke about this in a shul, and a guy came over to me and pointed this out to me. I didn't know it. A guy pointed this out. Watch this. Turn to 1102. On page 1102, if you look at Pasuk Yud, it's about 5 lines from the top in Parshas Ha'azino. And it says, Yimtza'eu be'eretz midbar v'so yilel yeshimon, yisovevenu yevoneneu yitzrenu ki ishon eno. It's only the context. Right, in the article, he discovered him in desolation, howling wilderness. He encircled him and granted him discernment. He preserved him like the pupil of his eye. Hashem protected the Jewish people like the pupil of his eye. Now, the pupil is the black part of the eye, right? And anytime something's coming at, what's the first thing a person does when something's, you kind of flinch, you close your eyes, you protect you get your hands up over your face, over your eyes, right? The eyes, we instinctively try to protect our eyes, like that. If you're ever playing baseball and a hard ground ball is coming at you, you kind of like you got to get lucky to get it in your glove, right? That's you kind of somebody kicks a soccer ball at your head, and it's coming. The first thing you do is you kind of get your hands up over your eyes to protect your eyes. Says Rashi. Now take a look at Rashi over. What does it mean to protect the Jewish people? Were protected like the people. You have to see the words of Rashi inside. It's a shocker. Do you see on the right column? About 10 lines from the bottom, on the right column. Sorry, a little higher, about right in the middle of the page. Count about 15 lines from the bottom. Dang, I'm good, right? Exactly 15 lines from the bottom. Man, how does he do it, right? So the first word on the line is Yisovevenu. First word, I had to count it to make sure. Sometimes you want to know that you scored, right? Yisovevenu. So what does it mean? He surrounded them, which he surrounded them like the pupil of the eye. Says Rashi, Sham sibvam v'hikifam ba'anonim. There he surrounded them with the clouds of glory, which serve as what? A protection. V'sibvam b'degolim la'arbaruchos, and he surrounded them. He divided them into the four groups of 3, right? They were in the 4 directions. In each direction there were 3 tribes, like a military formation. It's a way of protecting. You're protected on all flanks, are being guarded and protected. And then look at the next statement. V'sibvam b'tachti sahar shekafa aleim kigigis. He surrounded them under the mountain, which he held over them like a barrel. I understand if it was a threat, what kind of protection is it? What does it mean he surrounded them by the mountain? How do you surround somebody by a mountain if you're dangling it over the head like a protection? The answer is the mountain's got to be hollowed out and lowered down over them, doesn't it?
Wow.
Right?
So
The mountain's got to be. So the mountain, it's exactly what the pshat is in the Gemara. That the only way that a mountain could be a protection if it's a hollow and you lower it down. That's what the Gemara is saying. That the Torah, the essence of Torah, and a person has to know. So when you go to Shavuos, what are we doing on Shavuos? What are we supposed to do on Shavuos? The Gemara says that on Shavuos you have to celebrate. The Gemara says that Shavuos you have to celebrate. That means there's the machlokas in the Gemara in Psachim. What do you do on Yantif? So there's a machlokas. Rabbi Eliezer says, Pesach, Sukkot, either you spend the whole day in the Beis Medrash, or you spend the whole day eating and drinking and celebrating. Rabbi Yeshua says, no, there's a compromise position. Chatzi l'Hashem v'chatzi l'chem. Half the day is for Hashem and half the day for you. It means half the day spend with the spiritual stuff, with the ruchni stuff, the davening, learning, and half the day you eat. And then the Gemara says, that's a machlokas, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. The Gemara says, that applies the option of spending the day all doing in the Beis Medrash, that applies to, or all day eating and drinking, that applies by the other Yom Tovim. On Shavuos, everybody agrees you have to spend at least half the day doing what? Learning. No. That's what you would think.
Cheesecake.
Everybody agrees you have to spend half the day eating and drinking on Shavuos. Isn't that counterintuitive?
No.
Why? Says the Gemara, because that's the day the Torah was given. How does that answer the question? It strengthens the question. The answer is that if a person understands that by living a Torah life, we enjoy this world, forget the world to come. That's the bonus. That's a cherry on top. A person lives a Torah life, they enjoy this world, so then we acknowledge the day that the Torah was given by living with this world, which is eating and drinking. That's the big misconception.
Eating, drinking, what?
The big misconception, whatever you enjoy, the big misconception that people have is that the religious have made some sort of deal with Hashem that will deprive ourselves in this world in exchange for some sort of abstract spiritual reward in the world to come. And as we've mentioned many times, nothing can be further from the truth. You live a Torah life, you live a life of enjoyment, fulfillment, pleasure, and then on Shavuos, that's what we're doing, we're acknowledging it. So, gentlemen, I will wish you a Chag Kosher v'Sameach. Enjoy your Shavuos, enjoy your Yontif. Make sure you enjoy it. If you enjoy cheesecake, you eat it. If you don't enjoy cheesecake, then you're a friend of mine. And then.